The underestimated species. The Galactic Federation Council chamber hummed with tension as representatives from 47 species gathered for an emergency session. Admiral Kethvar of the Zenthari Empire stood at the central podium, his 6 arms gesturing dramatically at the holographic display, showing burning worlds across 3 star systems. The Draconian Empire has broken the Tau Accords. His voice boomed through the translation matrix. Their war fleets have already consumed the Rigel system and are advancing toward the core worlds. We need immediate action. Ambassador Silthea, of the Ethereal Collective, flickered in her energy form, her voice like singing crystal. Our psychic networks have detected their intent. The Draconians seek total galactic domination. They have developed new weapons that can pierce our energy shields. From the back of the chamber, a small delegation sat quietly. The 3 humans looked almost comical among the towering aliens, insectoid warriors, and crystalline beings. Captain Sarah Chen, representing Earth's small colonial fleet, watched the proceedings with calm eyes while her companions, Commander Torres and Dr. Mitchell, took notes on their primitive tablets. "What of the Volthan hegemony?" asked General Krex, his reptilian features scarred from countless battles. "Your plasma cannons can melt through their hull plating." The Volthan representative, a massive being of living metal, spoke with a voice like grinding gears. "Our plasma cannons proved ineffective. The Draconians have adapted some form of energy absorption technology. Our fleet suffered 70% casualties at Proxima." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The Volthans had never retreated from any battle in recorded history. Their weapons were considered the most destructive in the galaxy. "The Nexari Union's quantum bombs?" suggested someone from the crystalline sector. "Neutralized," came the bitter reply. "They somehow predicted our attack vectors and deployed countermeasures we've never seen before." One by one, each species reported similar failures. The insectoid hive showed recordings of their million-strong swarm fleets being systematically destroyed. The gaseous Aryans spoke of their weather control weapons being turned against them. The mechanical synthetics reported that their logic-based battle algorithms had been corrupted by some unknown virus. "Perhaps," interrupted a melodic voice, "we should consider evacuation protocols for the outer colonies." All eyes turned to Captain Chen, who had spoken for the first time. Her voice carried clearly through the massive chamber despite her small stature. Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what the humans had learned was mild irritation. "Captain Chen, while we appreciate Earth's concern, this is a matter requiring military solutions beyond your species' capabilities." "With respect, Admiral," Chen replied, standing slowly. "You haven't asked what we can contribute." A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the chamber. The human delegation had been included in the Federation more as a courtesy than from any belief in their usefulness. Humanity's technology lagged centuries behind most species. Their ships were crude metal constructs compared to the elegant energy vessels of advanced civilizations. Their weapons were chemical explosives and metal projectiles, while others wielded forces that could reshape matter itself. "Very well," Kethvar said with barely concealed condescension. "What does Earth propose?" Chen touched her tablet, and a small holographic display appeared above the human delegation. It showed star charts, fleet movements, and tactical analyses that made several species lean forward with interest. "We've been studying the Draconian attacks for the past 6 months," she began. "While you've all focused on matching their technological superiority, we've been analyzing their patterns, their psychology, their weaknesses." Dr. Mitchell stood up, his elderly frame seeming frail among the assembled warriors. "The Draconians are not invincible. They're predictable. Every species they've encountered has tried to meet force with force, technology with technology. That's exactly what they expect." Commander Torres activated another display showing detailed biological and psychological profiles. "They're apex, predators from a world where dominance was established through raw power. Their entire culture is built on the assumption that superior strength always wins." "That's correct," Admiral Kethvar said impatiently. "Which is why we need weapons that can match theirs." "No," Chen said quietly. We need to be what they don't expect. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. The assembled delegates were surprised to see that Earth's small navy was scattered across dozens of systems, far from any major population centers. For the past 3 years, while you've all been developing better weapons, we've been studying you, all of you. Chen's voice grew stronger, more confident. We've learned Zenthari battle tactics, Volthan engineering principles, ethereal psychic techniques, Nexari quantum physics, not to copy them, but to understand how they could be combined. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't been sitting idle in their backwater system. They had been learning, adapting, synthesizing knowledge from every species they encountered. Furthermore, Dr. Mitchell added, we've been analyzing the draconian defeats of your fleets. They win because they adapt faster than you do. But they've never faced an enemy that adapts faster than they can analyze. Silthea's energy form pulsed with curiosity. What are you proposing, humans? Captain Chen smiled, and for the first time, the assembled species saw something in human eyes that made them reconsider their assumptions. It wasn't desperation or bravado. It was the quiet confidence of a predator that had been studying its prey. We're proposing something the Draconians have never encountered, she said. An enemy that doesn't fight fair. The holographic display changed again, showing detailed schematics of human ships. But these weren't the crude vessels the galaxy knew. These ships incorporated technology from every major species, but combined in ways that none of them had imagined. Zenthari energy shields powered by Volthan plasma cores, protected by synthetic logic barriers and guided by ethereal psychic networks, Torres explained. Nexari quantum weapons that can be fired from Hive-manufactured swarm platforms, while Aryan weather control systems provide cover. Impossible, breathed the Volthan representative. The power requirements alone would require a dozen different types of reactors. Which we built, Chen said simply. Turns out, when you're not bound by traditional thinking, you can solve problems that seem impossible. The chamber erupted in excited chatter as species began to realize what the humans had accomplished. They hadn't just been observers in the galactic community, they had been students, quietly learning from every advanced civilization while developing solutions that none of those civilizations had considered. But the Draconians, Admiral Kethvar protested. They have thousands of ships, weapons that can destroy entire fleets. They do, Chen agreed. But they've never faced an enemy that thinks like them while fighting like us. Dr. Mitchell brought up psychological profiles again. Draconians respect strength and despise weakness, but they have a fatal flaw that every apex predator species shares. They assume that if they can defeat the strongest enemy, weaker enemies will surrender. They're wrong, Torres added. Humans don't surrender. We adapt. And when we can't win through strength, we win through cunning. Chen touched her communicator. Admiral Chen to all human vessels. Execute Protocol Omega. Throughout the galaxy, in star systems that other species thought were empty, human ships decloaked. Not dozens or hundreds, but thousands of vessels that had been hiding in plain sight for months. Each one was a hybrid of technologies that the galaxy's greatest minds had deemed incompatible. You've been preparing for war, Silthea whispered in amazement. No, Chen corrected her. We've been preparing to win. The tactical display now showed human fleets positioned at key points throughout Draconian space. Not attacking, not defending, but waiting in positions that would only make sense to a species that understood both military strategy and predator psychology. The Draconians are coming, Chen continued. Their fleets are moving toward your core worlds, expecting to face the same tactics they've already defeated. Instead, they're going to encounter something they've never seen before. She gestured to the display, which now showed predicted fleet movements. In 6 hours, the Draconian advance fleet will enter the Castor system, expecting to find Zenthari, battle cruisers. Instead, they'll find human ships using ethereal psychic techniques to coordinate Volthan weapons platforms, while synthetic logic systems predict their movements. "And if they adapt?" asked General Krex. Chen's smile grew wider. "Then we'll adapt faster. That's what we do. That's what we've always done." The chamber fell silent as the assembled species began to understand what they were witnessing. Humanity hadn't been the galaxy's weakest member. They had been its most dangerous student, quietly learning from every teacher while preparing for a test that none of them had seen coming. The Draconians think they're facing 47 separate species, with 47 different weaknesses, Dr. Mitchell explained. They don't realize they're actually facing one species that has learned to use 46 different kinds of strength. Commander Torres activated the final display, showing real-time positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. Every human ship is crewed by officers who have trained with your species. Every weapon system incorporates your technologies. Every strategy combines your tactics with our own. But why? Asked the Vulthan representative. Why prepare for a war that hadn't started? Captain Chen looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from species that had dismissed humanity for decades. Because someone had to, she said simply. Everyone was so busy being superior that nobody was preparing for what happened when someone even more superior came along. The holographic display shifted to show the approaching Draconian fleets, massive and terrible in their power. But now, scattered throughout space, were human vessels waiting with the combined knowledge of every advanced civilization in the galaxy. "In 3 hours, Chen announced. Every species in this chamber will see something they've never seen before. They'll see what happens when humans stop holding back, the revelation of human power." The first battle began in the Castor system, where Admiral Vextar led the Draconian advance fleet toward what he expected to be another easy victory. His sensors showed enemy vessels ahead, but the readings were confusing. The ships appeared to be human in design, but the energy signatures were impossible to classify. "Inferior vessels," he growled to his tactical officer. "Primitive humans with their crude metal ships. Destroy them quickly so we can continue to the real targets." But as the Draconian battle fleet opened fire, something unprecedented happened. The human ships didn't attempt to dodge or flee. Instead, they seemed to absorb the energy attacks, their hulls glowing with captured power that was immediately redirected into their own weapon systems. On the bridge of the human vessel Determination, Captain Lisa Park watched her tactical display with calm satisfaction. "Vulthan energy absorption working perfectly," she reported to her mixed-species crew, redirecting their own firepower through Zenthari focusing arrays. Her weapons officer, a young human who had trained for 2 years with Nexari quantum specialists, smiled as he targeted the Draconian flagship. "Quantum torpedoes loaded with synthetic logic viruses, Captain. One hit will cascade through their entire network." "Fire," Park ordered. The Draconian fleet watched in horror as their flagship's systems began failing in patterns they had never seen. Their advanced artificial intelligence, which had predicted and countered every enemy tactic for centuries, suddenly began making random errors. Weapons fired at empty space, shields dropped without warning, and navigation systems sent ships spinning into each other. "What is this?" Admiral Vextar roared as his bridge erupted in sparks. "Some new form of cyber warfare?" His science officer, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical shell, flickered with confusion. "Unknown, Admiral. The attack vectors are simultaneously quantum-based, energy-focused, and psychically enhanced. It's as if multiple species are attacking us at once, but from a single source." Throughout the battle, the human ships moved with a coordination that defied explanation. They fought like Zenthari warriors, thought like synthetic machines, and struck like Vulthan berserkers, all while maintaining a flexibility that no single species possessed. In the Federation Council chamber, representatives watched the battlefields in stunned silence. The Draconians, who had seemed invincible just hours before, were being systematically dismantled by tactics they couldn't understand or counter. "How are they doing this?" whispered Ambassador Silthea, her energy form pulsing with amazement. Dr. Mitchell, still at his post with the human delegation, smiled proudly. "Captain Park trained with your people for 8 months, learning psychic coordination techniques. Her crew includes humans who studied with every major species in the Federation. They're not just using your technologies, they're thinking with your thoughts. On the tactical display, more human fleets appeared throughout Draconian space. Each one employed different combinations of alien technologies and tactics, making it impossible for the Draconians to adapt their strategies. In the Rigel system, Commander Jackson led a fleet that fought like the insectoid hive, with thousands of small ships moving in perfect synchronization. But these weren't mindless drones. Each ship was crewed by humans who had learned to think collectively while maintaining individual creativity. Swarm Formation Alpha, Jackson ordered, and his fleet dissolved into what appeared to be chaos, but it was controlled chaos, with each ship following patterns that the Draconians couldn't predict because they combined hive collective thinking with human unpredictability. The Draconian defenders found themselves facing an enemy that moved like insects but fought like guerrilla warriors using hit-and-run tactics that kept them constantly off balance. In the Vega system, Captain Rodriguez employed Aryan weather control technology to create massive storm fronts in space itself, disrupting Draconian sensors while human ships attacked from within the artificial tempests like invisible ghosts. "They're everywhere and nowhere," reported a Draconian fleet commander, his voice tight with panic. "We can't target what we can't see, and when we do see them, they fight like no species we've ever encountered." Back in the council chamber, the assembled species watched their most advanced technologies being used in ways they had never imagined. The humans weren't just copying their abilities, they were improving on them through combinations that seemed impossible. "The Nixari quantum bombs that failed against them last month," observed the Nixari representative. "How are the humans making them work?" Commander Torres brought up detailed schematics. "We combined your quantum manipulation techniques with ethereal psychic targeting and synthetic predictive algorithms. The bombs don't just explode in 3 dimensions anymore. They target probability. States guided by psychic intuition." "That's theoretically impossible," the Nixari representative protested. "For your species, yes," Torres agreed. "You think in pure mathematics. The ethereals think in pure emotion. The synthetics think in pure logic. Humans think in all 3 simultaneously, plus several others you don't have words for." As the battles raged across multiple systems, a pattern began to emerge. The Draconians weren't just losing, they were being systematically demoralized. Every time they adapted to one human tactic, they encountered a completely different approach that incorporated technologies they thought they understood. Admiral Vextar, now commanding from a backup vessel after his flagship was captured intact by humans using ethereal possession techniques combined with synthetic hacking, found himself facing an impossible situation. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the enemy ships are now using our own weapons against us. They're somehow integrating our technology with theirs in real time." "That's impossible," Vextar snarled. "No species can adapt that quickly." "Apparently humans can," came the bitter reply. On the bridge of the Determination, Captain Park was indeed integrating captured Draconian technology into her ship's systems, but not in the way the Draconians expected. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had spent 3 years studying with the galaxy's best engineers, was redesigning enemy weapons to work with human tactics. "Their plasma cannons are too focused," she reported to Park. "But if we combine them with Volthan power cores and use Xanthari targeting systems, we can create a weapon that's more effective than either species developed independently." "Do it," Park ordered, "and transmit the modifications to all human vessels." This was the key to human success. While other species guarded their technological secrets jealously, humans shared everything instantly. Every innovation, every adaptation, every successful tactic was immediately distributed to all human forces. The Draconians found themselves facing an enemy that evolved in real time, becoming more dangerous with each passing hour. Weapons that worked against humans in one system were useless against humans in another, because the humans had already learned from the first encounter and adapted accordingly. In the Federation Council chamber, Admiral Kethvar watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. "They're not just winning," he said in disbelief. "They're learning from the Draconians faster than the Draconians can learn from them." Captain Chen nodded. "That's the point. Every species in this galaxy learned to be the best at something specific. You're the best warriors, The Voltans are the best engineers. The ethereals are the best psychics. But humans learn to be the best at learning itself. As the battle entered its final phase, the true scope of human preparation became clear. They hadn't just built ships and weapons. They had created an entire military doctrine based on the principle that adaptability was more valuable than any specific strength. Human commanders who had studied Xanthari honor codes challenged Draconian leaders to single combat, knowing that Draconian pride would force them to accept. But the humans fought these duels using Krillian berserker techniques, while protected by synthetic probability shields, making them nearly impossible to defeat. Human psychics trained by ethereal masters reached into the minds of Draconian crews and filled them with doubt and confusion, not through direct attack but by showing them the futility of their cause through perfect empathy. Human engineers, working with technologies from a dozen species, repaired battle damage in minutes that should have taken hours, keeping their fleets fighting when any other force would have been forced to retreat. As reports poured in from across the galaxy, the pattern became undeniable. The Draconian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just days before, was not just retreating but collapsing. Their forces were surrendering, their commanders were defecting, and their homeworlds were sending desperate messages requesting peace negotiations. How? Asked Sylthia, her energy form flickering with amazement. How did they achieve in hours what we couldn't accomplish in months? Dr. Mitchell stood slowly, his aged frame somehow more impressive than the towering aliens around him. Because we understood something that no other species in this galaxy has figured out. Individual strength, no matter how great, is nothing compared to collective adaptation. You see, he continued, every species here evolved to be superior in isolation. You developed technologies and tactics that made you the apex predators of your worlds, but humans evolved differently. We survived not by being the strongest or the fastest or the smartest, but by being the most cooperative and the most adaptable. Commander Torres activated a final display, showing the scope of human operations across the galaxy. Every human in our fleets trained with multiple species. Every human ship carries technology from dozens of civilizations. Every human tactic incorporates strategies from races that never thought to share knowledge with each other. But most importantly, Captain Chen added, every human understands that our strength comes not from what we know, but from our ability to learn what we don't know. The council chamber fell silent as the assembled species began to understand the full implications of what they had witnessed. Humanity hadn't just won a war, they had demonstrated a completely different approach to existence itself. In the hours that followed as Draconian surrender messages poured in from across the galaxy, the Federation found themselves faced with a new reality. The species they had dismissed as primitive and weak had just saved them all using a combination of their own technologies employed in ways they had never imagined. The Galactic Federation would never be the same. In the days and years that followed, other species began to adopt human practices of cross-cultural learning and technological synthesis. The rigid hierarchies based on individual species superiority began to break down, replaced by cooperative networks where knowledge flowed freely between civilizations. But the galaxy would always remember the day when humans finally showed their true power. It wasn't the power of superior weapons or overwhelming strength. It was the power of infinite adaptability combined with the wisdom to learn from everyone, while being limited by no one. As Captain Chen addressed the assembled Federation one final time, her words echoed through history. We are not the strongest species in this galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced. But we are the species that learns from everyone and is defined by no one. And that, it turns out, is the most powerful thing of all. The Draconian Empire formally surrendered 3 days later, their leaders requesting not just peace but partnership with the species that had taught them the true meaning of strength. And throughout the galaxy, every species remembered the day. Humanity finally revealed that their greatest weapon had always been their capacity to become more than anyone expected them to be.